from your local election headquarters. This is Politics Today with Jackie Kingston.
Amarillo will have a potentially new city council after the May election, but they'll be dealing with a familiar challenge, where the Amarillo Civic Center renovations stand now. And Homeless Heroes is sharing their plan for a tiny home project for homeless veterans. Here are the answers they have for questions from our community. Thanks for joining us this morning. As we get closer to the May elections, more candidates filing to run for local office. Here's the latest update we have at the time of this recording, Friday afternoon. Starting off in the race for Amarillo Mayor, Sam Burnett joins the race, joining Frida Powell, Jeffrey McGuneagle, and Tanya C. Winston. In the race for place 3, Kat Massey filed to run. Tom Sherlin has also filed to run in that position. And in the race for place 4, Les Simpson joins the race. Hobart Gunny Brown also previously filed. The last day to file is coming up, February 17th. It's this week. For the most up-to-date look at the list of people who are running for office so far and guidelines if you'd like to file, including places that didn't have any new additions this week, go to myhighplains.com. The Amarillo Civic Center is still operating at a loss without the renovation and expansion project the current city council pushed for after a lawsuit that blocked their funding mechanism. And after the May election, we'll have a new mayor and new city council members and likely shifting priorities as well. Politics Today's Kaylee Green looks into what's ahead for the Civic Center.
To keep the Amarillo Civic Center functional, City Manager Jared Miller says the money to subsidize the cost of maintenance operations will continue to come from hotel occupancy tax revenue.
The subsidy, the amount that is not covered by operating revenues, is about $1.5 million to $2 million a year. That's going to and has been shown to be an ever slightly increasing number year over year, just as maintenance becomes more and more expensive as parts of the facility age.
Bo Folks, the general manager of the Civic Center, says in the short term they'll focus on continued upkeep and necessary maintenance.
Dealing with the failures and so on that we have, the sewer line and things of that nature. We're constantly doing some upgrades.
Miller says revenue is tied directly to the size and number of events they attract.
It's a functional building that is bringing in lots of good events right now. It's not as competitive for some events, but we're aware of that and we're working to compensate for that. We're going to work very aggressively to do a good job selling in sales to bring in events that can use our facility.
Folks says they have their usual slate of events lined up for 2023, plus some new events.
And then of course we got the brand new pavilion, 60,000 square foot indoor-outdoor pavilion across the street over by the Santa Fe Depot that will go online this summer. So we're all excited about what all that can bring and what it will do for us.
But Folks says the Civic Center has lost some events without the proposed renovation project, including high school graduations and more.
You know, WRCA is booked for 2023, but their future is still uncertain down the road. So we'll just have to wait and see what their board decides.
Amarillo City Council member for Place 1, Cole Stanley, says while some parts of the facility are outdated, it is structurally sound. Stanley voted against a debt issuance last year for the Civic Center project, citing a failed bond issue in 2020.
There's not a great sense of urgency here, and it comes down to the fact that a new council really needs to do whatever the citizens want. So we have to listen to our citizens and be able to work with what they give us.
In Amarillo, Kaylee Green, KAMR Local 4 News.
There is much more to this story as the appeal process is underway in the Civic Center lawsuit. It's all waiting for you on myhighplains.com. Homeless Heroes Amarillo held a meet and greet Wednesday night to share the organization's next steps for filling the gap for veterans facing homelessness. The organization was recently granted 10 acres of land from Potter County to house the Tiny Home Project. Politics Today's Maya Clark has the story.
In 2017, Tiffany Bellflower, president and founder of Homeless Heroes, became increasingly aware of the veterans facing homelessness. For the past 6 years, Homeless Heroes went from passing out brown bags with basic necessities for homeless veterans to now having land to provide permanent transitional housing for men and women who have served.
We'll put the houses out there, a community center, a park, a dog run, all these different things, and just really create a community for these men and women. It's something that we are bringing here that has been done at a high level and has had great success.
A concern some residents shared was how will veterans have access to resources if the community is located in Willow Creek. Homeless Heroes plans to bring the resources to them.
That's been one of the concerns that the residents out in River Road have addressed. Are we just going to throw them out there and leave them? The answer is a hard no. With that community center, we'll be able to bring resources from town out to there. The VA will be able to help us with transportation, Veterans Resource Center, all these things to bring them there.
Another concern the board addressed was if the housing was temporary or permanent.
These are actual homes. They're not tents. They're not little temporary housing. They are on a foundation. They have everything that anyone else's homes out there have.
Bellflower says that the most important thing is that veterans want to be there, and before they're able to move in, they'll go through an extensive application process.
Our job itself is to fill the gap of creating the roof space, right? A place for them to lay their heads. So through the Veterans Resource Center and other nonprofit programs here, they'll go through a vetting process to make sure, of course, that they're veterans, that they are able to meet the guidelines. We're essentially going to be that gap that brings them from getting approved to finding a place.
During last week's meeting, Homeless Heroes board members explained that they'll be responsible for housing and facility maintenance, utilities, construction costs, and insurance. Veterans who are housed will also be helped with getting their license, Social Security card, and other items they need to live a productive life. To Austin now, committee appointments have been announced in the Texas House of Representatives and Senate. Kaylee Green is back with a look at our local lawmakers' assignments for the 88th legislature.
State Representative John Smithy in District 86 has been named to the Committee on Juvenile Justice and Family Issues and the State Affairs Committee. State Representative For Price in District 87 has been named to the Natural Resources and Public Health Committees. He's also on the Healthcare Reform House Select Committee. Price said in part, quote, "Having a reliable source of clean water is important to every person, family, and community. The same is also true for having timely access to quality health care in the rural areas of our vast state, including at home in the Texas Panhandle." State Representative Ken King in District 88 has been named chair of the Licensing and Administrative Procedures Committee. He will also serve his 6th term on the Public Education Committee. King said in part, quote, "I'm excited to work with the different industries the LAP committee will touch, and I will continue to fight for the 5.5 million school children in the state of Texas." And State Senator Kevin Sparks will serve as the vice chair on the Senate Nominations Committee. He's also a member of the Senate's Health and Human Services and the Natural Resources and Economic Development Committees. Sparks was also named to the Veterans Affairs and the Water, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committees.
Speaker of the House Dade Phelan announced committee assignments for the Texas House of Representatives last week. Texas Senate committees were also recently appointed by Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. We've also reached out to Representative Smithy and Senator Sparks for comment on their committee appointments. We're still waiting for comment from them at the time of this recording. Governor Abbott is working to ban TikTok in the state of Texas. Coming up, we have the latest about how that would work. I'm Jackie Kingston. You're watching Politics Today from your local election headquarters. Amarillo native and attorney Jeff Blackburn died in New Mexico Tuesday after a battle with kidney cancer. That's according to family members and professional associates. One of his lasting accomplishments, in 2006, Blackburn helped found the Innocence Project of Texas. They work to free people who are wrongfully convicted and to reform policies.
Important. First of all, it's important that people that are innocent not be in prison, and they need advocates like Jeff Blackburn to ensure that that doesn't happen. And then they need advocates like Jeff Blackburn and the Innocence Project of Texas to try to correct the issues in the system that lead to people being wrongfully convicted. So
Blackburn also took on 38 of the 46 drug arrest cases in Tulia back in 1999. Most who were arrested for dealing drugs were black. His clients were exonerated, and the undercover agent who arrested them was convicted of perjury. John Ballantyne was executed Wednesday night in Huntsville after more than 25 years after he was convicted of 3 murders in Amarillo. According to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Ballantyne died by lethal injection at 6:36 Wednesday night at the Huntsville unit. Ballantyne was convicted after shooting and killing 3 teenagers while they slept in January 1998. The victims were 17-year-old Edward Kaler, 15-year-old Kai Geyer, and 15-year-old Stephen Watson. Here's TDCJ spokesperson Robert Hurst with more facts about the case.
Ballantyne was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death in 1999 for shooting to death 3 male teenagers inside an Amarillo home he had previously shared with his ex-girlfriend. One of the victims was his ex-girlfriend's brother, who had disapproved of the couple's interracial relationship and had previously threatened Valentine. The two other victims were unknown to Valentine.
Valentine was 54 years old. He spent the last 25 years on death row here in Texas. An order filed in Potter County denied Valentine's emergency motion to recall his execution on Wednesday, based on a ruling by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals Wednesday morning. When asked if he had any last words, TDCJ said Valentine said, "Yes, ma'am, I want to thank y'all. I love y'all for supporting me. I want to apologize for the wrong I did to y'all. Forgive me. I'm ready, ma'am." The Supreme Court also denied a motion to stay that execution. Looking now at another infamous Amarillo death row case, Brittany Holberg was convicted and sentenced to death for the 1996 murder of A.B. Towery Sr. She remains on death row. We'll hear from prosecutors and one of Towery's sons about the case. That is coming up tonight after the Super Bowl over on our sister station, Fox 14 News. During the Uvalde school shooting in May, it took 77 minutes until officers breached the classroom and took down the gunman. 91 DPS officers were there, but so far, only 2 have gotten in trouble for their actions that day. Fox 14 Politics Today Capitol correspondent Monica Madden pressed DPS Director Colonel Stephen McCraw about why it doesn't look like any more will face discipline from the department.
Are there other officers that you expect to be disciplined from DPS?
No, just the 2.
And so you don't expect any other disciplinary action?
No.
Why have there not been more held accountable?
Well, I'm not going to discuss it any further because it's an ongoing matter. When it's completed, the public's going to have all the information, and you will as well, and you'll be able to make that assessment, okay?
Sergeant Juan Maldonado was terminated in October. DPS served termination papers to suspended Texas Ranger Ryan Kindle in January, but he still has the ability to appeal. Governor Greg Abbott announced new restrictions of the Chinese social media app TikTok, releasing new rules he says is part of a statewide plan for a statewide ban. In December, Governor Abbott banned the app on all state-issued devices, citing concerns over Chinese influence and data security. Now he's directing state agencies to ban the app on personal phones for state employees and contractors if they use those phones for any state business. There are currently no plans to ban TikTok for other Texans, but some Texas lawmakers in Congress want to go further. House Foreign Affairs Chairman Michael McCall says this committee will consider a bill this month which could allow the president to ban TikTok on all American Wi-Fi.
This is really to protect people from intrusions from a foreign nation adversary. By downloading the app, it does act as a backdoor, so they can get into your hardware, they can get into your data, they can get into your keystrokes. Everything that's on your phone can be accessible to China.
The pushback against those efforts from governments across the country, TikTok launched a data security operation they are calling Project Texas. They're partnering with Austin-based software company Oracle to process user data from within the United States. Cannon Air Force Base is home to the 27th Special Operations Wing, which is assigned to the Air Force Special Operations Command. Coming up, we're meeting the man in charge of the base and learning more about the journey that led him to that position. Just 2 hours west of Amarillo, you'll find world-class aircraft and world-class trained crews at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis. And the man overseeing all of this, blazing a trail of his own, as well as for future commanders. Politics Today's Rochelle Hamilton Jr. got a chance to visit with Colonel Terrence Taylor and hear his story.
Cannon Air Force Base is the home of the 27th Special Operations Wing. Here, you'll find some of the most advanced airmen, aircraft, and equipment on the planet, as well as the Melrose Air Force Range, a 70,000-acre training area for air, small arms, and electronic combat, all for one mission: to fly, fight, and win. A crucial part of our national defense. And the man responsible for it all,
I couldn't be more proud of our crews and the work that they have done.
Colonel Terrence Glenn Taylor, the first black wing commander in the 33-year history of AFSOC.
As the commander, really that translates as number one servant, right? I need to be able to provide for all of these airmen and their families. So that's job number one for me.
Born and raised in Warsaw, Virginia, coming to a small town like Clovis was no problem for the colonel.
I grew up with 48 other people in my kindergarten class, and those same 48 or so graduated with me in 12th grade.
With a father, sister, and brother who served in the Army, service and leadership came naturally to Colonel Taylor. He just chose a different path.
I was a young kid in the 80s, And during that time, there was a lot of talk about space exploration and space travel and those kinds of things. And you could watch the shuttle launches on, on the 3 major channels back then. So that certainly influenced me, and I still remember vividly the Challenger explosion.
Whether it was the stars or the skies, he knew he was reaching for new heights.
And it was the era of Top Gun, the first one. So that those types of things excited me. And I knew that I had an interest in flight and technology and maybe even space exploration. For a while there, I thought about trying to be an astronaut.
Ultimately, he decided on the Air Force. In his 25-year military career, Colonel Taylor's done everything from being a command pilot to serving in the State Department's Counterterrorism Bureau, the Special Operations Command in the FBI, to being a father and a husband.
I look back on it and thinking about the opportunities that this force, this career, this life has given me. It's been great. I couldn't have asked for anything better, but there's no way that I could have predicted it or anticipated it at all.
When he joined the Air Force in 1997, Colonel Taylor says he anticipated living the military life as he saw his siblings do it. But then, the day that changed the world forever.
You are seeing the result of 2 planes crashing into both towers.
And I was in my first assignment as a co-pilot there at Hurlburt Field, and that event, as it did for many, it defined so much of what was to come for me.
Through the heights of all of his accolades and awards, he realizes the significance of the path he's walking.
It's not lost on me that, as a minority, as an African American, this is a bit of a trailblazing, and it is a first. From time to time, I'll get a young airman come up to me and just say, sir, it's good to see you in this position. And the power of statements like that and the reminder that provides, again, I use the word humbling, but it truly is. And when you can see somebody that you can relate to, whether it's either through ethnic background or gender or upbringing or any of these things, you subconsciously knock down those barriers.
And it's a message that's more than skin deep. In Clovis, Rochelle Hamilton Jr., KAMR, Local 4 News.
Colonel Taylor's assignment at Cannon is winding down. He'll be heading out on a new assignment this summer. He says one of the most exciting things is taking different strategies and approaches from a variety of experiences and forming comprehensive solutions. President Biden presented his State of the Union address in front of a divided Congress last week. Coming up, the issues he focused on and the response from Republicans. President Biden delivered his second State of the Union address Tuesday night, laying out a story of America's resilience and urging Congress to work together and finish the job on issues like police reform. Facing a divided Congress, the president was heckled at times. Still, he says he looks forward to working with Republicans.
I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in more than, and not one administration, but for a long time.
The family of Tyre Nichols was present during the president's speech. President Biden encouraged better education and training for police officers, stating officers who violate the public trust must be held accountable. The GOP's rebuttal was given by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders from Arkansas.
President Biden and I don't have a lot in common. I'm for freedom, he's for government control. At 40, I'm the youngest governor in the country. And at 80, he's the oldest president in American history. I'm the first woman to lead my state, and he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob.
Governor Sanders focused on the difference age can have in politics, how race is taught in public schools, and criticizing technology companies. Former Vice President Mike Pence is subpoenaed by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Smith was appointed in November by Attorney General Merrick Garland to lead the Justice Department's Trump inquiries. He's overseeing investigations into Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol attack, as well as the former president's handling of classified documents after he left office. It's unclear what information Smith is seeking from former Vice President Pence. We'll wrap things up here on Politics Today. Thanks. Well, that wraps it up here for us this week on Politics Today. A reminder, the deadline to file in the May municipal election is February 17th. We'll have a look at all of those who have filed so far on our website throughout the week. That's myhighplains.com. And our full coverage next week here on Politics Today.